Good morning, comrades. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, as much as it is possible regarding the circumstances. Speaking of circumstances, the good thing is with all the 1.5 meter distance, all it cannot destroy my phone. Yep. So, bye and hello. Anyhow, GT2 RS is being cleaned, and speaking of the GT2 RS MR, well, most importantly the MR, is that I'm going now to Manthey-Racing to pick up the Pista together with Robert. He's already there because it has received some upgrades. But first, a very important update regarding life at the Nürburgring. So let's go to the ED gas station. Love that sound. Hello, Golf. Now, many of you have asked what's up with the tractor, because the last time I gave an update on the car is that when I was still back in Zagreb and I said that the gearbox was broken. I'll tell you more about it later on. I actually managed to do 2 laps with this car, and there'll be a video about it upcoming soon, very soon. But now let's go to ED. The hard engine mounts. Some gangster music. That's just the radio. Shh. How does this work? There we go. That's better. Right, so arrived at the ED gas station, which is famous for being the best, well, one of the best car spotting places in the world, most likely, definitely regarding new prototypes. Speaking of which, of the prototypes, industry pool is still happening, and yesterday there were 5 whole cars running. So probably today as well, maybe even less, because of obvious circumstances. AMG in Yokohama were testing. AMG is testing the Black Series, the GTR, or AMG GT Black Series, or GTR Black Series, I don't know what it's going to be called, so we will see about that. Is this the new S-Class AMG? Considering that whole body is wrapped, it's probably the C or the E. But yeah, regarding the ED gas station, they have a very important update. Huh? Interesting. Hallo.
Muss fürs Essen sorgen.
Ja. Why is it still beeping? I really have, like, the lights are off, but weird anyway. Weird car. Well, as you already know from my vlogs, it's not only the best car spotting spot, but also the best food spot where you can get all types of lunches. And now they have an update, namely, they make fresh pizzas. This, by the way, extra sandwiches I got from Reti, the gas station owner, because, well, he had to get rid of them anyway, so thank you for that. Look at that. Salami with extra cheese. I had one yesterday and it was so good, so everyone was so jealous at Apex that now that they ordered a lot more. So let's go deliver those and go to Manthey-Racing. That's why it was beeping. The turn signal was still on. One pizza for you?
Yes, not in the GT2 though.
Yeah.
Never.
Well, it's a good table here, I mean. Yeah. Should I put it in? I'll put it in your car. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. We have also sandwiches. Because they, like, he just gave them. Otherwise they're gonna be bad. So here. You want sandwich? Yeah. Okay. You want 3 of them?
Probably not. Hello.
So here's one with pute. Look at this. Lack of content. Well, actually, it's not it's extra special content. Well, I guess you want to see the 488 now, so let's go and get it. Looking really good.
Looking better.
Yeah, so usually we clean the car every single day when the car is in operation. But how often do you clean it now?
Maybe once a week.
Okay. While we are on our way to Manthey-Racing, let's see what's happening at the industry park. Usually it's full with trucks unloading the latest prototypes, or like some activity at Öhlins test center, but usually every time I'm driving here there's something happening at the Land Rover Jaguar, or Jaguar Land Rover, and Aston Martin as well. Right now we have some activity at Yokohama, like I mentioned previously. AMR, yeah, not much is happening there today. Phoenix Racing, Audi factory team, obviously with all the racing world being shut down for the next coming months, also not much happening there. The new Manthey-Racing building, some renovations. Will be interesting to see how it's going to look like in the next couple of weeks or months. Another Manthey-Racing. Ooh! Now that's some car spotting right there. Wonderful. Wow. Plenty of GT4s. Then let's go and... Oh, here's the Pista. Maybe they can do some setup on the Golf as well, who knows. By the way, one more thing, a lot of people have asked me where I got my pink pig shirt from. You can get it at Manthey.
Alright.
You have a ballpark in McDonald's, and here you have a stone park at Manthey. Oh, I guess it works.
Manthey's rock gardens.
Good, so after having picked up the keys, here we are. Why are we here? I mean, of course, we said that the car is going to get Manthey-Racing set up, but how far did you go?
No, I didn't go too far actually. What we did was just the goal was to get an alignment done. I think that if you'd seen any of the videos that Misha and I did, or driving it on board, anything like that, that the car understeered like crazy. I switched over to the Nankang Aero 1 tire. That helped a little bit, but obviously it was more a mechanical issue as opposed to a tire issue, if you would. So
the best example, I'm going to interrupt you quickly. The best example was when we did the lap with the Senna, which me, and following you, you can see the car actually like really, it
rolled severe, but so two things were going on. It was too high from the factory. So, I mean, the thing was out in space. Our hope today was to drop it down 30 millimeters, but we were only able to drop it 10, which was really interesting because we took out the shocks, and when you run the collars down on the shocks, they get down to exactly the distance to drop it down exactly 10 millimeters on all 4 shocks, and they stop.
Okay.
It's almost like the threads are askew or something's not right, but every single shock was exactly the same. You could only drop it down 10 millimeters. So
wow.
It's something I might take up with Ferrari and just ask them, why is there another 40 millimeters of thread on the shock, but you can't actually go down? Because I have seen Pistas that are slammed, that are very, very low. So we're down about 11 millimeters lower than it came, which it looks so much better already. But I just wanted it even more, just, you know.
Yeah, drop it more.
Yeah, exactly.
Run -5 camber.
Yep. So anyhow, the two things that we did were to lower the suspension, obviously, set the alignment, did some toe adjustments just to improve the understeer. But the biggest thing is that the front the front end had 0.8 degrees of camber before.
Okay.
And the rear had 1.8, I think it was. Yeah, so it was 0.8 and 1.8. So when you have that much camber in the back and so little camber in the front, that's also going to induce understeer.
Yep.
Furthermore, so what we did was we lowered it, and when we lowered it, we got about 0.2 of a degree of camber out of it, which took it up to 1, and then we obviously worked the shims and everything like that. So now we have 1.6 degrees of camber in the front and 1.9 in the back. So doubled the front camber essentially.
Okay.
So that should make a big difference. So what we'll do is take it out whenever the track opens, go do some laps and figure out if that's enough or if we need to try and shim it out some more and get more camber out of it. And yeah.
And now, actually, quick jump cut in later in the evening, because when I was editing this video, I realized that we forgot an essential bit to mention, which was the toe, actually.
Yeah, so we did forget to mention the toe. We spoke about the fact that we essentially doubled the front camber. We added 1 degree to the rear camber, and then we lowered the car. But we didn't talk about the toe, and that is actually I think one of the more important aspects when we're aligning the cars for our use, especially. The car comes from the factory, so you have either, if we're looking at the car this way, you either have toe out, or you have no toe, 0 degrees, or you have toe in. And this is assuming that both wheels are pointing in together, or both wheels are pointing straight, or both wheels are pointing out. Most people assume, well, wouldn't you want all your wheels to be straight, right? When all your wheels are straight, the car will track very easily because there's nothing kind of guiding the car. Everything is very free running. If you have a car that you're really worried about top speed, they might let it go perfectly straight. That'll increase acceleration and will also increase top speed. However, we don't like that because it does give you this little floating feeling, a tracking feeling. So what you can do is you can toe out. And what essentially happens when you toe out is your 2 wheels are scrubbing against each other. They're trying to pull apart. It's basically pulling the car in half. It's not doing any damage, but that increases tire wear. But what it will also do is artificially increase steering response and different things like that and make a car very twitchy. I've always said for a long time that I believe that Ferraris are artificially twitchy, whether it be in the steering, the throttle, the braking, everything like that. And it makes perfect sense that Ferrari would do that because it makes the car very pointy. So when you turn, so what I actually prefer on the front end is toe in. Okay, and what the toe in does is it does that same exact thing. It makes the two tires work against each other, but keeps the car tracking in a straight line. It slows down the steering inputs a little bit, which can cause a car to understeer less. Toe out will also cause a car to understeer less, just based on the mechanical function of it. But towing in on a car that's already twitchy can make it to where you have to turn the steering wheel more to get it to do more input, so it's not putting a sharp hit on the steering, which is causing an understeer for that reason. So what we did is we went from 1 degree toe out to 1 degree of toe in. So we essentially changed the toe angle 2 degrees. We went beyond 0 from +1 to -1.
Yeah, so it went from twitchy to very stable.
Yeah, very stable. And again, toe out will make a car stable, but it's more responsive. It moves faster when you respond. So toe in will make the car more stable, but slower response. A lot of people say, oh, you want the fastest response. If you take and turn the wheel really fast and you've got a toe out situation, you could point the car really quick, and that will also set up an understeer situation.
About a month plus ago, there have been lots of technical videos about it because of the Formula One AMG technology, the active toe in and out, will push the steering in and out.
And that's really cool because if you do those kinds of things, I mean, you get the best of both worlds. You could put it at 0 for top speed. You could, high speed turns, you could do this. Low speed turns, you could do that. I mean, that's obviously where we're talking adjustable camber, active toe. All of these different settings can make a big difference.
And speaking of big difference, one of the other cars that we have done at Manthey-Racing, except for the GT2 RSMR, obviously, was the Supra. And there was a very...
I think the Supra has other issues as well, in my opinion. And you could also go back to the 570S with this as well. My belief is, so toe is something that you don't want to be changing as you're driving, unless it's like active where you say, I'm coming up to this turn, I want it to be this way.
Yeah.
Right? I believe that I know for a fact in the 570S it does this, and I believe that I haven't taken the suspension apart and, reverse engineered everything, but what I believe is happening on the Supra is in the rear of the car, when the car settles down or lifts up, that the toe is going out. Okay? So when the rear lifts, so let's say you're full throttle, the car's squatted, the rear lifts, the toe goes out, and then it gets all wobbly. So it goes from maybe a negative camber to a positive camber, and as it crosses 0, the car gets all wobbly, right? And that's a huge problem. That's very dangerous because that's not something you're expecting or planning for. And so that is a perfect example of changing toe while you're driving in a way that you don't want it to. So we would notice that, hit the jump at Schwedenkreuz, you lighten the back. Right when it hits, it's a little wobbly, then it sets down and it's good. Then you go into the turn. Right when you come out of the turn again, the back end starts shaking again. And that's something that's, in my opinion, quite dangerous. So what we did is we overcompensated with even more toe than we needed so that we always stay to a negative type of toe situation.
And 675 LT, we also stabilized the car there.
We stabilized the 675 LT big time on the front end. I think that there's a video a couple years ago, Misha and I going down Dodringer Hole, maybe about 200 and something kilometers an hour, close to 300, and I let go of the steering wheel because it was just so dead on straight after the alignment. I was just so happy. Before I would come under the gantry and it would be just, you're fighting the car to keep it straight. And so we put that toe angle in and it just changed it tremendously.
Now let's jump in back to the rest of the video, but first, other two things. The car looks now very sexy when it's lowered.
Yes, it's much better, isn't it?
Because you can, I think you did some driving around and probably it has settled a bit more, and that's why, wow. But it could use like another centimeter.
I think another centimeter would be nice, but as we mentioned in the other video,
it was not possible, but that's something you will find out in a bit. One more final thing is the spec sheet. Probably people will be interested to find out the stock.
We don't have the stock in here.
We don't have the stock.
No, we don't have the stock, but I can tell you that we had 1 degree positive here, okay, and then we had 0.8 camber in the front, and we had 1.8 camber in the rear. This adjustment here, we went up 0.1. That is essentially just from lowering the car. As you lower a car, when the car settles down, it automatically pulls the tops of the wheels in. That's just a standard procedure. So we gained 0.1 degree from lowering the car, and then we obviously gained about, I would say, 0.7 degrees of camber by adjusting the shims and everything like that, and another 0.1 by lowering it.
And some further additional data.
Yeah, this is interesting right here. So the car weighs 1,552 kilos. That's with a 30 kilogram driver. Yes, I am a little more than 30 kilos, but when they said, Robert, how do you want us to set it up? I said, I want a balance between the fact that I mostly have passengers in the car. If I'm taking this car out, I'm either with Tiffany or the kids, or I'm with somebody that works at Apex. That's usually who's with me in this car. And so I wanted a balance that stated that there is, if it's just me, then I'm about 50 kilos heavier than this plan.
Yeah.
If it's a passenger in the car, we're either exactly this plan if it's a light passenger, if it's a 30 kilogram passenger, or we're 30 to 40 kilos heavy if it's a heavier passenger. So we did the corner balance at a more neutral standpoint that states that when I'm in it, I'm a little heavy on my side, and when passengers are in it, then I'm a little bit light on my side. So somewhere in between.
Almost perfect 50-50.
Yeah, it's very good, isn't it?
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Good. Well, enjoy the rest of the video. What would be like the next option after this? Would you consider going crazier? Like in terms of seeing if another suspension would be possible?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be your next step. Is you would have to look at the body roll and see if you could put some kind of a roll arm or something like that, a sway bar, I guess you would call it. See if you could improve it through some measures such as that. I haven't looked at it close enough to see exactly what's possible in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I think the next step would be that you would take out the stock suspension and you would put in a fully adjustable aftermarket suspension. That would be the next step.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite easy to do. Each shock comes out in 10 minutes.
Okay.
You can take the shock out in 10
Yeah,
minutes.
because Manthey actually had every single
Yeah, they
shock
took
out
every single shock
to
out.
see if...
And the car's only been here for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So, they took every shock out, adjusted them, set them up and everything, and put them back in. So it wouldn't be a big deal to put new shocks in the car. It would just be, you're just now changing the car quite a bit. And my take on it is you have a car like this, and at the end of the day, got you guys. Did you hear that I'm the at the end of the day guy?
Yes.
No, but the reality is do you want to take a car like this and have to start modifying it so extensively to make it work?
Says the guy who runs a Taxi GT2 RSMR.
Yeah, but I do think that's still a little bit different. I don't know. The GT2 obviously had its issues, from a compromise standpoint between driving it on the track and driving it on the street. The back end, the suspension didn't really work that well in the back end, in my opinion, from the stock setup. And so, yeah, you're right. If you are going to go that far and say, look, I did it to a GT2 RS, then why not do it to this? Then I guess I have no argument.
Yeah, so it would be great to see a 488 Pista MR. How big of a wing is going to put on the front, on the back, on the front?
Maximus actually thinks that we should take the stock GT2 wing and put it on it.
It might actually work. It would be like the first collab. Yep. I mean, you see now in the dire times like this on social media, Porsche is reposting BMW content, BMW Porsche content, and maybe we can get Ferrari this far to actually start working with other brands. Who knows?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't see myself taking it that far.
Yeah,
I do think that the Pista should come with better roll control from the factory, and I think that it should come with not that much understeer. I think that those are two things that this car is said to be, a track car. It's said to be a driver's car, and I think those two things really took away from it.
Yeah, but how many typical Ferrari customers are actually taking it out on the track?
I hope a lot more than is probably true, but I think that is an issue. I've always had issues where if I say I don't like something on the Ferrari, they say, yeah, well, 99% of our customers are happy,
Yeah.
And I guess they're right, but at the end of the day, I think that if that's what you're advertising it to be, then make it that way.
Yeah, well, probably Ferrari is going to tell you if you want something more hardcore, go for our X6 or Challenge program.
Yeah, probably what they'll tell you is take it to a race car.
Yeah.
But I think that these little adjustments, just alignment setup, that's nothing from the factory, to be honest with you, that you can blame a factory. The car was fantastic on the street, drove wonderful on the Autobahn, so all of that stuff was fantastic, but at the end of the day...
Stay tuned to find out. I'm very excited to take it out on the track. Hopefully the track will be open very soon and shortly after the 20th of April, but we will see. And after that, who knows, maybe some more extreme upgrades in terms of suspension or whatnot, and otherwise we'll ask Manthey to do something on the tractor. That would be nice too. Good. Well, have a good day.
Hey,
Enjoy
real
the
quick,
test ride.
did you see this?
Yeah, the Up MR.
The Up MR, yeah.
That's definitely something that I think we did some R&D on our Up, and we're sharing that information with them. I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk, if our relationship with Manthey-Racing allows us to talk this much with it. 982, it's like Porsche. I know 981, but that's a 982. That's secret development. Maybe it's a Porsche mule car for the new Cayman. Nobody knows, huh? Good. Well, thanks a lot and see you.
No problem. See you later.
Bye. Look at the canards on the S2000. Wow. Well, and you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video with a bit of blah blah and more serious technical content. I'm very much looking forward to see where the Pista is going to go, literally and also figuratively. For that, stay tuned to find out. I'm gonna go back home and do some work, but first, look at the amazing BBS FIR wheels on the GT4 MR. And also this touring with a roll cage. Maybe that's something I should do to the tractor as well. Who knows? No, that's 1.5 meters. That's good. That's good. This one goes, special shout out to Bruno. I hope you're watching. Okay, just one more food shot before we go. Chocolate donut.